Hi everyone, Peter here from Flow High Performance, and in this video we will explore whether all athletes should train to run like track sprinters. First we need to explore what track sprinting is. This refers to linear sprint events like the 60, 100 and 200 meter sprint. The goal of these events is to run in a straight line as fast as possible. So linear speed is their only goal. Because linear speed is the only objective for track sprinters, they utilize the most effective technique for this movement. Although there is variation in technique between elite sprinters, there are general mechanics which the majority of elite sprinters demonstrate. We will now cover some of these general mechanics. We generally see a high knee drive when watching elite sprinters. During the acceleration portion of the sprint, the hips usually reach a flexion angle of around 90 degrees or greater, while at top speed, the hips usually reach just below 90 degrees. We also see a linear arm drive during all phases of track sprinting. The arms pump back and forth with minimal rotation or lateral movement across the body. During the acceleration phase, the arms usually drive through a greater range of motion, while this movement is less pronounced at top speed. Another common technical trait of elite sprinters is having high ankle stiffness during ground contact. This means that the foot and ankle remain rigid during the brief time they are in contact with the ground. This allows maximum force transfer into the ground to propel the athlete forward. Track sprinters also demonstrate specific shin angles when sprinting. During the acceleration portion of a sprint, we see a positive shin angle, meaning that the foot strikes the ground behind the athlete's center of mass. During max velocity sprinting, the foot generally strikes the ground slightly in front of the athlete's center of mass, meaning that the shin angle is negative. And the last general technique mechanic that we can see in elite sprinters is the recovery of the heel. During acceleration sprinting, we see a lower heel recovery, meaning that the heel stays close to the ground before the next ground contact. During maximum velocity sprinting, the heel recovers much higher. This means that after ground contact, the heel comes up against the bottom of the thighs and cycles forward before the next ground contact. While these general techniques are seen in track sprinters, other athletes don't necessarily run in this same way. Court and field sport athletes rarely reach maximum velocity, require frequent changes of direction, and are often required to run while using their upper body to shield or stabilize from another player. Furthermore, during sport practice and competitive matches, these athletes are required to perform these movements without complete recovery between efforts. Therefore, even if these athletes train to run specifically like a track sprinter, they probably won't even use this technique during their sport. Despite the fact that other sports don't have the exact same requirements for speed as track sprinters, linear speed training can still have benefits for these athletes. By improving absolute linear speed, other speed-related variables are likely to improve too, such as change of direction ability, acceleration ability, and repeated sprint ability. Furthermore, linear speed development can reduce the likelihood of hamstring strain injuries. This study found that a sprint training program induced greater changes in muscle architecture than the Nordic hamstring exercise, while simultaneously improving sprint performance. So when coaching non-track athletes, should we try to make them sprint like track athletes, or should we just not focus on sprint technique at all? Well, rather than thinking about sprint coaching as these two polar opposites, this can be thought of on a spectrum. While there is no right or wrong answer, it seems logical to me to train court or field sport athletes somewhere in the middle of this spectrum. We want these athletes to exhibit good general mechanics that we would see from a track sprinter, but we don't need them to run exactly like a sprinter would. So some athletes may need specific technique work to make their running mechanics more efficient, but we don't need to invest a huge amount of time and effort into making this technique optimal from a sprinter's perspective. This is because even if we do get these athletes to run optimally, they probably won't even be using this specific technique in their sport. By improving the general sprint technique characteristics of non-track athletes, we can help them become more efficient at speed-related qualities that will be seen in their sport, such as short accelerations, changes of direction, and repeated sprint efforts. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you got something out of this video. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already.